Everybody, so here's another video when it comes to education and activism and trying to make the world a better place. So I've made two videos so far in this series, one on the controversy of Sesame Place and the other on special education. So this one I want to talk about critical race theory. So I first heard about critical race theory on The View, and they've talked a lot about the critical race theory, so I had the essential idea for it, but I wanted to dig a little deeper on what exactly critical race theory is about, because I didn't want to make a video just talking about just random stuff and whatever. I want to sound educated on this topic, even though it's not the easiest thing because it's a newer term. It started coming out like last year, so I'm still trying to get used to these terms and educate myself on them. So I just watched this video that talked about critical race theory. It's called Critical Race Theory, Experts Break Down What It Actually Means. And essentially it's like breaking down the root of the legacy of racism in this country. Because we were built on the back of slaves since the birth of this country. And that's why there's the 1619 project, because our country got started in 1619 when the white settlers brought back slaves to this country, and that's how slavery started in this country. At the very beginning of this country, the very beginning of history of this country. And then with the American Revolution, white men became free and our country broke away from England. So people of color were still considered second-class citizens, and it's important to understand that. And it's like after the Civil War, the southern states, the Confederacy, tried to hold on to that legacy, that so-called legacy that was rooted in racism, because they were so proud and like try to rewrite history when it comes to the Civil War. And there's the Birth of a Nation documentary that came out that was very depicted in racism, blackface with actors that weren't black, and there's a lot of pushback when it comes to critical race theory. Like, some people think it's nonsense and shouldn't be taught in schools because we shouldn't be talking about race and racism, and there has been a lot of legislation on it, trying to get to minimize what we can talk about when it comes to race, and that's not okay. We should definitely talk about race. It's important in this country, to be able to move forward, to understand our racist history, because yes, there's a lot of good people out there that done great things, but we've had people who have done great things that have also owned slaves, and at the same time we need to understand that and understand where this country was founded on. We push aside indigenous people for ourselves, and we kidnapped people from different countries and sold them into slavery in this country. We've done terrible things, and it's important to right the wrong and educate ourselves, and that's why critical race theory is very important, because we need to understand that legacy. We need to understand that this country has never been great. It has only been great to a few. And by a few, I'm talking about white men. Right? Heterosexual, cisgender, white men. If I say white twice, I'm sorry. So much stuff. But yeah, because for the longest time, people of color were second-class citizens. And for the longest time, women were second-class citizens. So it's important to understand where that came from and the legacy of that. That's why critical race theory is very important, and it needs to be taught in schools. We need to be talking about race, not just the black parents talking to their children about race. White parents need to talk about to their children about race. Everybody needs to talk about race. And when I have kids, that's what I want to do too. I want to have that open discussion with my kids so that they will understand that if like I'm married to someone who's white and I have biological kids that are white, I want them to understand they do have privilege and understand about racism and how we as white people, we do have inner biases. And we need to work on those biases in order to make the world a better place. It's important to have these discussions, regardless of race. It just is. I hope I did a good job with this topic. And see you in my next video. Bye bye. Good night. Have a good night.